All right, Rohan. So congratulations on a 750. It's been a long journey, but an amazing score. How does it feel?
It feels good, but still it's long way to go now, because I like the stage I'm here right now. I think GMAT was easier than what about to come.
It's job hard done, definitely. I absolutely agree with that. I think that part is there, but the traits that help you, get to the score over the last year and a half or so. Is it a year and a half?
Yeah.
Roundabout, right? So the same traits will help you get into a good B school. So I think you have evidence that you've done well by following your traits, and all you need to do is just keep on following
Yeah.
your instincts and make sure that you understand what works for you and continue to do well on that. So let's start with your GMAT journey. When did you start preparing for GMAT?
Actually, I started in November 2016. Actually, I work in oil and gas sector, downstream sales and marketing. So in November 2016, I started to think I should, pursue my further dream to get into top B school, because earlier when this is my second, if I get into top B school, this would be my second MBA degree. So earlier I did not have a good CAT score. It was around 92 percentile. So I opted for a lower rank B school in India. But I had that dream in my mind. I think 2012 to 2016 I was in a very comfortable mode. But in 2016 things changed. So I thought it's best time to take a GMAT and start my journey towards my dream school.
Okay, all right. So then how did you go about it?
Actually, when I started preparation, I was not sure which kind of material would be in great use. So I just had my initial research. I asked 2 or 3 friends how did they go about it. So I bought Kaplan and OG 2017 material. So I started with theory from Kaplan, all the process and approach to each and every SCA, RCN, CR questions and quant as well. And I started, I completed the theory part, and the book has 30 to 40 questions, question banks. So I completed that as well, and then I switched to OG. I thought I would be ready to handle OG questions, but that was a mistake from my part. To take GMAT not as important as I thought. So I underestimated the way GMAT works and all. And at that time, I was not knowing what is 600 to 700 level questions, 700 to 800 level questions. So I was very naive, and that way I started with OG and completed OG. Similarly, I completed quant and verbal. But somewhere down the line, I felt I'm not ready for real GMAT. I will not, if I take, I would not score more than 680. And to get into, my aim was to at least score 740, if not more than. So 700 to 740 would be my, range I was aiming for. So, and that time I did my more research on which kind of online platforms are available. So I came up with e-GMAT. I asked 1 or 2, I searched through success story on your site. So I asked 1 or 2 people on LinkedIn how the course is and it is worth to subscribe for the course. So I got positive news everywhere. So I subscribed to e-GMAT.
Okay.
So this is how I subscribed to e-GMAT. In e-GMAT, I started with verbal, because I knew quant I can handle. I can score at least 49 to 50 in quant. So I was not worried about my quant part. I was more worried about my verbal part, because I had not have any schooling in English medium. So I knew verbal is my.
So you are from a Hindi medium background?
No, Gujarati medium.
Gujarati medium. Oh, so again, non-English medium background as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and you scored a V40 eventually. That is commendable. Yes.
Yeah, so I started with your approach, SC meaning approach, and identifying the error in first 30 seconds. Just spend time on the initial question stem before going to answer choices. Then in CR, pre-thinking approach works well. And for RC, always look for author's tone. What is the purpose behind communicating that RC to candidate? The author's tone. So I started with that approach. It was hard to get used to the approach, because see, it's easier than get done, because you I mean every time you quickly started to jump upon your answer
Answer
choices, and
choices,
you want to,
yes.
yeah, so you start, okay, I know this patient, so I can handle this well, and you just start to scan through all the five answer choices. So it was hard for me initially, so I started to write it down every time. I think I have written down at least 50 essay questions. I used to write it down. I used to underline each and every errors that is there in the question stem. So I get used to approach that you were asking your candidates to go about. Sorry. So that way I get used to the approach, and eventually it came very intuitively. Like once you start seeing your question, you get scanning through what, okay, this can be the meaning, this can be author is trying to say, this can be the error that we can improve upon. So that way, and in CR as well, I used to identify the goal, conclusion, premises, and what is the what authors wants us to strengthen or weaken the argument. So that way I started to scan the answer choices then.
So do you know, and that's very interesting how you went about doing it, and I think that probably is going to be an example that I would tell students, because what you've done is you've realized that this has been your problem, and you've figured out a way to master that approach, and that's really, really nice. And being from Gujarati medium, that's, I would say it's commendable that you've come up to where you are. I'm actually looking at your scores right now, the final test. So you've scored the highest possible score in critical reasoning. You have 96 percentile
Yeah,
in ESR.
93%.
And you have 81 percentile on your sentence correction.
Okay.
But
yeah.
One of the things which is there in that 81 percentile, I don't know if you've looked at that yourself, that in the meaning, identifying the meaning and inferred idea, you've scored really high, and your grammar score
Grammar
is
is,
for
33%.
33 percentile. So I mean, despite, because you focused on the meaning,
Yeah.
you've been able to get to 81 percentile on sentence correction. It's that core skill that you practice so much that
Yes.
so that's
Because somewhere I knew in 500 to 600 or 600 700 I will be able to identify errors, and that error, once I identify those errors, it would be easy to point out the right answer. But in 700 plus level, it is not just about identifying the error, it's more about meaning based approach. So to master 700 plus level question, you need to focus more on meaning, not just grammar.
and I mean your when I'm looking at the ESR, your accuracy in the first two groups is really, really nice, and essentially basically you've just made one mistake in each of the first two groups overall. And when I'm looking at the third group, which is when you face slightly difficult question, I think that's where you made a few mistakes in RC over there. And in the last group, you actually did a lot of very difficult questions, answered a lot of very difficult questions
Actually,
correctly.
I skipped one RC in last section.
And that shows, but you answered some very difficult questions correctly, because your average difficulty correct is very high in the last
higher
one.
than,
In the average difficulty incorrect. So that RC was probably easier in some way, but
okay.
your overall score has gone up. What is it, the green line or the yellow line, whatever it is, from third group to final group has gone up. So that is very nice.
Okay.
This is
Actually, in third section also, I got a very long passage, like 5 para passage on of humanity, some objectivism or something. So, but I knew even if it is long passage, the answer, like choices, would be more straightforward. So I attempted those 4 to 5 questions. I did not panic at the time.
Good. That is really, really good. So how did you use Scholaranium during your preparation?
Yeah, actually, I might say I made a mistake not using Scholaranium once I completed my theory part for each section. Actually, I completed the theory part for verbal, then I used Scholaranium. But I know that may be my initial thinking that I'll rather just go through the theory part,
Okay.
and then I'll made a, because initially 6 months I have already spent on question banks and the setting up the question of around 30 questions or 25 questions in mix of three, RCSC and CR. So I thought I'll utilize SC, like Scholaranium, that way I'll make a small quizzes of RCSC and CR, and I utilize Scholaranium that way. But it was overall the quality of questions were very good. It was as good as GMAT OG official resources. So I had initial difficulty because my theory part was not good before joining e-GMAT. But the more I started to solve Scholaranium questions, that accuracy got improved.
Okay. Okay. So, and what did you learn from solutions in Scholaranium?
Actually, solution were the bone of behind each and every question, because even if you get it right, you go through the solution, like discussion, what other people are thinking, or what other methodologies can be specifically for quant. So the solutions and the discussions were very helpful to get your mind right.
Okay. All right. So you've just mentioned quants. I think let's talk about the quant piece. You've scored a perfect score in every other subsection but geometry and quant.
Geometry. Actually, I think I guessed 2 geometric questions in DS.
Yes. But let's talk about the other aspects of quant first. So you were at a Q46 when you or a Q47 when you started or so, and then you got to
Q49 in my first
Q40
attempt.
in your first attempt. Yes, and I can see you did pretty well in Scholaranium in quant overall. I can see your total overall accuracy was 81. The lowest that I'm really seeing is 79. The highest is 83. So you were pretty good in every
And
section.
actually, I think one of the most important factor behind getting a high accuracy high accuracy in quant is very hard question of e-GMAT. You cannot solve those questions in 2 minutes, but they were very helpful to get your minds bit widen, because you look for possibilities. Okay, this can be a scenario where this particular question item can be wrong in DS, or okay, you can solve this problem solving in that way. So that really helped me. I knew that in OJ official, like in GMAT, the difficulty level won't be that much higher, but this helped me to get my my accuracy higher and my speed improved.
I think it also helps to develop that much more mature
Like
thought process overall.
thought process, yeah, right.
And so when you see the official questions, you really know you
You
can look
yeah.
through the end to the solution,
And yes.
and really say that. Okay, that's good to know. All right, so I think that's really good. I am very impressed by how you've mastered the approaches in verbal. I'm very impressed with how you've managed timing during the test overall. You've really solved the stuff in how an adaptive test should be solved.
And actually, frankly speaking, to be honest with you, in preparation from second attempt to third attempt, I did not even concentrate for timing. I did not even time myself for any of the practice. I was just concentrating more on accuracy and getting my mind right and implementing the strategy properly in real GMAT.
Have you actually mentioned that? I haven't gone through your success story today, but have you mentioned that in your success story that you did not focus on timing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to make sure you do that, because a lot of people, I mean, one of the most disappointing emails that I get when I see is from someone who really says, "Hey, I scored V25, and the reason why I scored V25 is because I have timing issues." And I'm like, no, that is not going to
Time is
happen.
not an issue. The more you practice, it gets you come up with the strategy, right strategy
Hmm.
to solve those questions within a time limit. So it's about practice, not about concentrating on time. Just get your accuracy, get your methods right in the right place.
Mhm.
The timing will automatically come perfectly.
That is absolutely true. I absolutely agree with that. But the other thing which is there is, if you have a V25, then timing is never a problem, because even if
Mm-hmm.
you just do well in the first two blocks, you're going to score higher than V25. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
had you just randomly marked answers after the attempts that you had in the first two blocks, you would have still scored a V32.
Right.
So I mean, if you have a V25, your timing is not going to be an issue. It's the
Right.
issue is a bigger issue. It's your ability to solve questions.
So patience, right.
So all right. So Rohan, good GMAT attempt, long journey, but I think some really good lessons learned. Given your background, I think you needed to put in this much effort. But I mean, 750 is a score you should be really proud of. I am
Thank,
proud of you.
thank you.
So, and you say you want to you're in oil and gas, or rather downstream right
Downstream
now,
sector, yeah.
and you want to take a leadership role, and
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned the way I'm just inferring from it, and maybe my inference
Okay.
is wrong, but you want to stay in the same sector, but you want a leadership position where you're taking more decisions. Is
Yeah,
that
and yeah, it is, and that might be like I would say I'll more concentrate on oil and gas sector, but maybe in consulting role where I can have a more global exposure upstream downstream as well, because I have that kind of
so the
understanding
entire
on,
supply chain
yeah,
basically?
supply chain, yeah.
Okay. So the universities that you mentioned, Kellogg, for example, and you said Wharton may be a stretch, is good
Mhm.
colleges, but
Yeah.
they're not known for oil and gas as much.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that's kind of where you start your research from from the very fact that the way I would look at it is you, you're good in quant, so you know Venn diagrams, right?
Mhm.
So or set
Yeah.
in some ways. So look at where if you want to come to the United States, then look at where the concentration of oil and gas is,
Okay.
and it is in Texas and
Okay.
Louisiana and
Okay.
parts of California. California actually it's kind of going down, but Texas, Louisiana are basically two main areas. Now business schools in those areas would help you.
Okay.
Okay, there are some other concentrations as well where they could help you. So I would have you actually look at McCombs.
Okay. Mokoms, right.
McCombs is really good. Duke Fakwa has a pretty good center for research and energy.
Okay.
So those are the two schools that I would have you look at. Now Kellogg is really good in sales and marketing, absolutely right. But it's a different kind of sales and marketing. The oil and gas
Okay.
sector sales and marketing
This
is
altogether.
very very specific to the oil and
Mhm.
gas sector. You're very very I mean oil and gas as a sector is very very governed by macro factors.
Okay.
The global
Mhm.
supply chains dominate things uh, a lot. I mean, if you have unrest in one particular region, oil producing region, for example, if you
Mhm.
had unrest in Middle East, suddenly the crude supplies uh, are
Mhm.
shortened. Accordingly, the prices change. Accordingly,
Mhm.
people start to stock up stuff, right? It's a very the sector is very specific in that regards
Mhm. Right.
overall. So I would really recommend to look at schools, but there is a lot of work in oil and gas if that's kind of the
Okay.
place that you want to go to.
Okay.
Having said that, I would also really say that if you want to stay in the United States, make sure you talk to students from Duke, from McCombs,
Right.
and see that and check whether the oil and gas companies do provide uh,
Okay.
H-1B visas or not.
Okay. Definitely.
The other places which are really good in oil and gas is University of Alberta in Canada. So
Okay.
I look at that now. It's not as highly a ranked school overall, but in
Okay.
oil and gas, it's a real good school.
Okay.
So from that standpoint,
Right.
so those are the schools that I know of in this sector. Now you could also search for business schools that have a focus on energy,
Yes. Right. Okay.
because any top business school will have a really good focus on sales and marketing.
Right.
But it's the focus sales and marketing without view on the energy sector is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And you're doing a very right thing where you say, okay, I am from this sector. I want to kind of change my role from a very sales specific sales and marketing to a more corporate level sales and marketing. And I think that's a good move. It's what I would call as a reasonable risk move, which means that given that you're from this sector, a B school would not be worried about your ability to transition into from where you currently are and the kind of experience you currently bring to where you want to go to.
Okay.
So and you have a passion in that place. So I think that part is good as well.
Okay.
So I mean, that's kind of what my recommendation would
Okay.
be.
And one more thing I just want to ask. See, I think we are in September, so round two would be in
End
January.
of December,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So would it be advisable to apply in round two, or rather I should wait for another year and apply in
No,
round one next year?
apply in round two. Why would you wait another year? See, I think
Okay.
here is something that I would say: apply in round two. What do you have to? Here's something that I will tell you from my personal experience. I
Mhm.
applied in round one and I applied in round two. I got done with my GMAT in May, I think. Yes, I got done with
Okay.
my GMAT in May of the session falls when I applied. I applied to a bunch of schools in round one, did not get into a single one of them.
Okay.
I applied to a bunch of schools in round two, got through every school, got 3 full fellowships.
Okay.
so so
So round two
round
is not a problem.
no, round two is never a problem. I mean,
Okay.
so round
But
one versus
given the time I have, like it's almost close to 3 months I have
you need
before for
one good
preparation.
month, one good month.
Okay. Okay. Right. Fine.
Okay. You still need to work with an admission consultant or some sort of program such as Applicant Lab. One of those two
Yeah.
is what
Actually, yeah. I was hoping like house applicant lab. I mean, you have a.
it is very good. So
Okay.
it's very good. It definitely will. I mean, have you taken the free trial?
No, I haven't actually.
Have you
Actually, I
attended
was.
a free webinar that Maria conducts?
No, actually, I did not. I was hoping. I was actually searching my archives to get a recording of the webinar, but I did not find any.
I
So
can send that to you. That's
yeah.
not a
Okay.
problem. We have that. So so yeah. So Rohan, I would say take a look at Applicant Lab. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, it's a really good tool overall. You
Okay.
probably will need the editing services as well.
Yeah.
So they also provide editing services overall.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And so I can send you the recording of that. You can approach Maria. You can really say I'm an e-GMAT student. I think you get some discount if you're an
Okay.
e-GMAT student. So
Right.
so yeah, so I need to take a look at that overall.
Okay.
So,
Right.
but
Definitely. Because
you need something from looking at your resume. It's a lot of
yeah.
information over there.
So that is why I was asking whether 3 months, like 1 or 2 months, would be
No,
sufficient enough to.
it will be.
Okay.
So one thing that I would really just say is, see, doing your application
Mhm.
essentially is um, is a 3-step process. Well,
Okay.
or 4-step for more people. 3-step is the actual action piece, and the 4th step is 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 uh, is just the stuff that you need to do before the action. In the first
Okay.
step, you need to really understand what is a winning application.
Okay.
Okay, and you need to look at some of the success stories. Read some success story interviews, and when you read at some success story interviews. Um, uh, the same way you did for GMAT, there are for admissions as well, and I can
Admission
send a
as well.
few.
Yes.
I can send a few to you. So
Mhm.
one of our other partners, Poonam from ISA Review, she conducts those.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
so when you're looking at the success story interviews, what you're looking for is essentially what traits are conveyed through the story of a particular individual.
Okay.
Okay, so and so essentially the goal that you're looking at is, what does a successful individual look like? I mean, how does a school perceive a successful individual? You're not looking for, okay, if you, for example, look at an investment banker or someone who's an equities trader or a portfolio manager, they'd say, I manage a portfolio of $1 billion, and you'd say, oh my God, I only looked at $10 million worth of equipment. No, so I'm way smaller than this guy. That's not how you look at it. Why? Because in his $1 billion, that person is not looking at a ton of risk. In your $10 million project, if you don't implement it, a lot of that could go waste. Right. So essentially look for traits, look for, okay, what challenges did they face, and and how did he overcome those challenges, and what traits come out of it. Whereas, and those are the traits that you want to really just say that, okay, this is how he conveyed leadership, this is how he conveyed the ability to take on risk, and that belief in oneself overall. And so first, kind of understand what a successful profile looks like. The second step then really is to kind of look at your experiences and say, okay, how would I convey those, or which experiences convey those profiles? So think of a core set of 5 or 6 things that would be highlighted through various parts of your application. Then allocate those 4 or 5 stories to either, say this is only going to be in the resume, this is going to be in one of the essays, this is going to come through the application or the letter of recommendation. So then it's all about working on allocating this and working on each of the components one at a time. Okay. And then the last piece is to look at this and say, hey, is that story coming through the way I wanted it to come through, or do I need to tweak it? So it's very similar to building a house. You first research and really say, okay, what kind of designs look good? What do I really like? And what is it that suits my lifestyle? So in a way, what is it that suits your profile, given your background? Then you go on and create an architecture. Then you go on and build each component, and then or rather design each component. And then you look at the blueprint and say, hey, is it similar to what I wanted to build? If not, let me go make some changes. And you have ample time. All right.
Sure. Yeah, because the fear behind waiting for 1 year, because see, I already have a 6 years of experience. So I'm adding 1 more years of experience in my total experience. So that won't be helping much if I apply for next year.
7 years is not a detriment, is what I would say. The only thing which I would say is, why wait for a year? Because round 1 versus round 2 is not a big deal. The only reason why, if I would recommend waiting for a year, is if you were to add a lot of leadership experience in the next 8 to 10 months, then I would wait for a year. Your GMAT scores there. You have ample time before round 2. Okay. Now,
and I think 1 year won't be my profile won't change, and
so if your profile isn't changing, then apply this year. So I mean, round 2 is as good as round 1.
Okay. Because see, to be honest with myself, like I knew my application, it's a lot of work.